All right, what's up, guys? Brian Rayos here from E-Man Games. I unfortunately did not make it to Worlds again, as you guys all saw. I choked on stream. I made a lot of mediocre plays and decisions. It's just hard when you're under the limelight, and it's like the added pressure of you needing to win that match to go to Worlds. I made a lot of difficult and incorrect decisions that ultimately cost me the match. But it's okay, it would have been nice to go to Worlds again, like in back-to-back years. It would have been a crazy feat. But I'm still very happy that I managed to make top 8. I get this cute little trophy. And I just think I performed very well over the weekend besides that match. I played really well, like in my opinion. And I just had an overall really good weekend. But yeah, so for this event, I obviously decided to play Salamangreat, as you guys saw on stream. I think that type of deck fits my style like super well. I don't really like combo decks because I feel like with combo decks, you're often leaving the match to factors that are out of your control. For instance, let's say if I'm playing Orcus, if my opponent opens Lancia and I just don't have a counter to Lancia, it's just called by the grave, I'm not going to be able to play. And I don't like instances like that where if my opponent happens to have like this one card, I just can't play for the rest of the turn. And I didn't like that at all. Thunder is different because obviously, as you guys can see from my feature match, Thunder can play to pretty much everything. But even then, there's some instances where if you get hand trapped at just the right moment and you're playing Thunder, you'll just lose regardless. So I didn't really like. I don't like style decks that are those type of styles. I like control type decks, like something like Salamangreat, for instance, because I feel like this deck will always give me the opportunity to play, and I feel like the majority of the times if I'm playing, I should be winning. So that's why I decided to go for Salamangreat for this event. Also, I just feel like this deck specifically can main deck answers to pretty much every deck that exists, and if you can't main deck it, you can just side deck answers to every deck that exists. And I really like that concept, especially going into an event like the NA WCQ, where you're just bound to play so many different decks, but so many good decks, that it's a deck like Salamangreat, which can fit answers to all of those decks, I just felt would be perfect, and it was perfect. So yeah, let's just get on to it. So to start, the card that lost me my feature match because I got too greedy, I main deck 3 Buffalo. So I shouldn't have added this back on my feature match with Sunlight Wolf. I should have added back Gazelle. I was just thinking like, if he has Colossus, I can play through it. But I'm an idiot because I forgot that I already had like everything set up. So, but that's regardless of the point, because this was actually the best card in my deck, 100% by far, like bar none. Every time that I would open this card in my hand, it would be like absolutely insane. This really is just Pot of Greed. It feels like I'm playing Engage in this deck that will always draw a card. I don't know. Buffalo was absolutely insane. If you're going first, this card will always it's just super broken. But I really like the utility behind this card going second because it can play through Hieratic Seal. It could play through like Compulse or stuff like those type of cards. And I really liked just not having the most fragile normal summon or losing to like an interruption on your normal summon, and that's why I think Buffalo is super strong. I ended up not playing Debug. I still think Debug is like so bad because if you get hand trapped on Debug and the rest of your hand is garbage, you just lose. So I didn't really like Debug, but yeah, Buffalo like by far was the best card in my deck, 100%. I always wanted to see this card in my hand. I did draw this card super often, so and it was always insane. So I was really happy with this. This was, I think, without 3 Buffalo, I probably wouldn't even play this deck. This card is just that broken for me. So that's it for just like my non-Salamangreat monsters. For the Salamangreat stuff, 3 Gazelle, standard. I opted to play 3 Foxy. This card's just really good because it just outs continuous spell and traps, and I think that's just busted. Like, it outs Babel, which is really strong. Obviously, outing multi-roll's great. In the mirror, if you summon this, and then you can like try to pop their Sanctuary, and that'll force Bailings, or if they don't use Bailings, then they lose their Sanctuary. So Foxy's just really good. I felt like maxing out on it was important. Now, I decided to main deck only 2 Spinny. When I was testing this deck for the longest time, I was playing 3 Spinny just because I feel like having level 3s is just really good because that'll get you to Stalio if you don't have Gazelle. However, after watching my teammate Marco, shout out to you, Marco, doing so well at his Italian Nationals, obviously winning the event, with 2 Spinny and 2 Jaguar, the theory actually just made so much sense to me. Like, you never want to get your Jaguar called by the grave because that'll like make the game awkward like in the long run. And I don't know, it's like once you see 1 Spinny, you don't really ever want to see it again. And Jaguar, it's just even seeing it in hand and like opening with it, something like Buffalo or Silent Mining or Foxy, makes it easier to summon cards like Dweller and Tornado Dragon that it's like pretty good to draw this card. So I was like super happy with this ratio. I never missed a third spinny. There were games where like my opponent would get rid of my Jaguar with Shark Cannon or Called by the Grave, or one game it got Invocationed away. And then when I would summon the second one, my opponents would look at me like, oh my god, you played the second one, and it often would win me the game. So I was really happy with this ratio. I think this was perfect. Lastly, I played one Falco. Shoutouts to UDS champion Ryan Murakami, who said Falco is a brick, so he didn't play it in his deck. And then one Foul. Like something I love to do is if like I have Foxy, on normal Foxy, I'll discard Falco to summon it. If I have like Spinny, I'll summon Stalio. And Stalio, instead of summoning Jaguar, I'll summon Foul from my main deck, and then bounce Foul to my hand to summon Falco, which will trigger Foul to summon itself. So you get the free level 4 that way, free rank 4 that way. I did that like quite often. That was really good. And then Foul is just super nuts, not only because you can chain block with Gazelle, but the fact that you can, that the light stage freeze effect is not once per turn, and you can just use it multiple times to freeze your opponent's back row. That was super nuts, and that won me a few games. So Foul is really, really good. But I was really happy with this ratio. I didn't miss anything. I think it was perfect. So that's it for like the monsters. For hand traps, 3 Phantasme. This card's super weird because it's like not that good, but I think that if the mirror didn't exist, I would have main decked this card. But this card is just so broken in the mirror that I feel like you have to play it. So yeah, 3 Phantasme, 3 Ash. This is standard, obviously. 3 Veiler. This is also standard. But for this event, I also decided to main deck 2 Ghost Ogre. This was 4 Thunder, even though, as you guys can see in my feature match, I did not draw them versus Thunder. But it was really just because Thunder is like a really good match, really difficult matchup sometimes. I felt like I wanted that extra hand trap, and I didn't have space for it in my side deck. It's also just good versus Pendulum. It's also very good versus Sky Striker. You're just hitting multi-row is insane. There's also like interesting situations in the mirror match if you have it in your hand game 1 that you can ogre at the right time, that it could really interrupt your opponent in awkward ways. So Ogre is like, it's very weird to main deck because it's like not great versus Orcus, and it's not great versus the mirror. But it doesn't have to be a great card to be a good card, if that makes sense. I think that this card will almost always have utility, and even if it just makes your opponent, if it just forces your opponent to make awkward plays, then I think it'll serve its purpose. But the fact that it's in here versus the decks where it's super strong against, such as Thunder, and such as Sky Striker, that I felt like it was warranted to play. So I was happy. I didn't draw it really that much in tournament, but I was happy that it was just in my deck somewhere. So that's it for the monsters. For the spells, I played Sanctuary, the standard 3 circle. Like this was like literally like 30 minutes before I turned in my deck list on Friday. I decided to play that 2-sided mining. At first, I was gonna play 0 because in testing this card was god awful. I would like always get ashed on this, or I don't know. What it turns out was that I was actually just using this card wrong, and I was just getting too greedy because whenever I had this, I would always just think of Buffalo, but I realized like no, that's just incorrect. So once I started using this card correctly to actually search stuff like Gazelle, it got really good for me. And I was only gonna play 1 because, like I said, I didn't really like it when I was testing it, but my teammates all convinced me to play 2, so I just figured I'd listen to them. They're obviously smarter and better than me, so I figured I'd listen to them, and it really worked out. Silent Mining was insane for me this weekend. I was so happy that I played it. I'm more happy that I played 2 so that I could see it in my hand whenever I needed it. So this card is just really good. I was very happy I played it. I ended up just playing, this might be weird, just 2 Called by the Grave. I wasn't going to play Called by the Grave at all. My teammates gave me some advice and some theory behind not main decking Called by the Grave. But I feel like for a tournament like Nats, where you're just going to play against so many different decks, Called by the Grave is just like generically good against everything, that I felt like I wanted it in my deck somewhere because I feel safer with it in my deck. And it was actually not that great. I don't know. I didn't draw it that much. When I did draw it, I like never needed it. So this, I probably could have played without this, but I don't know. I just wanted it in my deck somewhere to be safe. But it really felt unnecessary. But I don't know. I've always liked Called by the Grave, but it may not be necessary this format. Last 2 spells I played were just 2 Cosmic Cyclone. I opted Cosmic Cyclone over Twin Twisters because when you're playing cards like Silent Mining and you're playing like 3 Buffalo, you're often going to be discarding cards, and I didn't want like an extra card that would force me to discard cards for like stuff that isn't necessarily going to net me advantage, like Buffalo or Silent Mining would. So I figured I'd just main that Cosmic Cyclone instead. It was really just here because Mystic Mind decks exist. If Mystic Mind wasn't a card, I would definitely not play this at all. I'd play something better. But just for the fact that Mystic Mind exists, I feel like you have to play some kind of back row removal. And it did come up when I, like, versus one of the Mystic Mind decks that I played. I had Cosmic, like, both games and just got rid of the Mind for free. But yeah, it was okay. I think I played against, my Swiss rounds were super weird. I played against, like, so many different decks. I don't know, honestly, if you need to main deck this like this. You could just probably like side all the hate for mine. But I don't know, it's interesting because like it can be okay going second versus Orchist, but really if you haven't like hand trapped them enough to the point where they can't combo and all you have is like a Cosmic Cyclone, then it's just too difficult to break through the board sometimes. But I don't know, it was weird. It's like these 4 cards, Called by the Graves and Cosmic Cyclones, were very awkward. I sided them out very often, so they're probably unnecessary, but I just put them in my main deck because it made me as a player feel safer having them there. But yeah, so that's it for the spells. And then for the traps, I just played 5 traps. I just played 3 impermanents. Shout out to Guzman for letting me borrow these. Love you, Remigio. Obviously just another hand trap. It's the best hand trap just because it can't get called by the grave, so that's pretty standard. And then I just opted for 1 roar and just 1 rage. Prior to the event, I had been testing builds with 3 rage because I think this card's super broken. But I figured cards like Cosmic, cards like Called by the Grave, and cards like Silent Mining would just overall be better than having 3 rage. Just because these cards are all typically better going second than rage. And I figured like if I ever wanted rage, I could just send it with Gazelle and then get access to it that way. So I was actually just really happy that I ended up just playing 1. But yeah, that's it for my main deck. I played 41 cards. Shout out to you, Yan. 41 is the best number. Shout out to Nico. 41 is the best number. You guys can all screw off because 41's cool. For my extra deck, I played super standard. Borreload. I was actually not gonna play this last minute. Something I guess I should mention. I didn't play Fusion of Fire. I don't know. I think I'm too dumb. Like I remember last year, I like never firewall TK people when I was playing Trixar, and I feel like that's the same thing this year. There were definitely matches I would have won like so much quicker or so much easier if I just played Fusion of Fire. And I was gonna play the Violet Chimera instead of Borreload because I only summoned this I think 2 or 3 times this tournament. But I don't know. I think I'm an idiot, so I probably should have played Violet Chimera instead of this. But yeah, I don't know. This was cool, I guess. Like I said, I only summoned it like 2 or 3 times. Hita, obviously the best card in the mirror match. This is super standard. Phoenix, this card's broken. 2 Heat Leo, standard. 3 Sunlight Wolf, sorry for the mismatch. 3 Baylink, standard. Played 2 Stalio, so last minute thing. I was testing 1 for a long time, but like Jonas and everybody told me like, hey, play 2 Stalio, and I'm so happy that I did that. It comes up every single game. So 2 Stalio is like 100% correct. And then just for the rank 4s, I obviously played Dweller. I thought about playing a second Dweller, but overall I decided on playing Tornado Dragon just because it's like good versus Sky Striker, good versus True Draco, which I surprisingly played 2 of, and just good versus like I really thought that I was gonna play a few Alter Guys just because that deck had gained in popularity over the past few weeks. I surprisingly played against none, but this is also good against Alter Guys. And I think Tornadoes just has generic utility versus a lot of decks, so I was just decided to play that instead of the second Dweller. This could have also been Baguska. I think Baguska is pretty good as well, but I just like having the versatility in my extra deck, which is why I decided on not playing Tornado Dragon, but most of it is pretty standard. Lastly, for my side deck, I played 3 Lancia. For this format, if you started your side deck and the first 3 cards in there weren't Lancia, you're doing something wrong. So, yeah, I played 3 Lancia. I sided 2 DD Crows that belong to Masashi, which I forgot to get back to you, but thank you because I drew them. So, I know you didn't know that I have them, but it's all good. So I sided 2 DD Crow. This was specifically here for the mirror. While I did side it in against Orcus, I sided it in versus the mirror going second because preventing Dweller is very important. And it was really nuts versus the mirror. And it was, but I also sided in versus Orcus, obviously, and it was actually really good versus Orcus as well. So I was really happy that I sided this. I think DD Crow is super good. I sided only 2 Pankratops. I don't like 3, which is weird because this card's super broken. But if you ever see multiples, it's like really bad. And it's like not a card that you necessarily always want to see. So Pankratops is like, it's super weird, but I think this card's super good. I actually tribute summoned this twice this weekend, and both of those times that I tribute summoned it, I won the game because of that. It was super broken. But I love Pankratops, and I wanted it somewhere in my side deck just because it's the most versatile card in my side deck. So that's why I just decided on putting into. And I was really happy with it. It was super good all weekend. I side deck 2 Twin Twisters. Just for more like Mystic Mind type decks, Altergeist, Sky Striker. I was a little nervous because, as you'll see, like from the remaining 6 cards in my side deck, I did not have any more outs to mine besides the 2 Twin, 2 Cosmic, and 1 Rage in my main deck. But I, A, didn't think mine was going to be too popular, and B, I figured, okay, I'll just eventually draw into them. But if you expect mine to be more popular for your event, I definitely think you should play more, but I was happy with this. I honestly just didn't side these in that much because, like I said, I only played, I think, 2 Sky Striker and Swiss, and Sky Striker was super easy for me because last 6 side cards, shout out to Paulo, 3 Mind Control, 3 Shared Ride. So Shared Ride obviously is just super broken versus Sky Striker, but the thing is you can also side this in going first versus the mirror, and you'll like almost always win if you do that. And then same for Mind Control. If you just side this in going second versus the mirror, it's like super insane. Even if they still happen to make Dweller, you can Mind Control the Sunlight Wolf and then make Boar Load and then take Dweller, which is just busted. But this is also good versus Sky Striker because you just take their link for free. And then I also cited this in versus Thunder, versus Cody Angelov. I played him last round of Swiss. Game 3, I'm going second. I resolved 3 Mind Control when I went second that game. And it was super cool. I was just like, I got this idea obviously from Paulo, who played these exact 6 cards at his WCQ, I believe last weekend. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that actually seems super cool. So I decided on following his advice and following his theory and citing them as well, and it really worked out for me. But yeah, that was my deck for the NAWCQ. Again, I unfortunately couldn't make it to Worlds just because I did play, like I'll admit, I did play that really poorly. I was under pressure and I unfortunately cracked, but it's okay. I got my cute little baby trophy here. I got some other prizes, and I'm just happy that I was able to repeat because I had like a really mediocre season. I didn't top any events, but I only went to like, I think 3 events or something like that, or 4 events. I don't know. But I went to less events and I didn't top anything. So it was really nice to just finally have a real deck again in my hands and do well. So yeah, just obviously shout outs to number 1, the team. Obviously Erikin, he was you're super supportful all weekend, messaging me, hyping me up. Like words can't describe how appreciative I am of that. Obviously to everybody in the team that was just messaging. When I got off of the feature match, I came back to my WhatsApp and I had 500 messages that I missed, like in the span of 30 minutes or however long that feature match, like 50 minutes was. You guys like sending me support all weekend just was really helpful in like keeping me focused and keeping me out there and winning. So obviously shout outs to the team. You guys, I love you guys. Shout outs to the boys, the OGs, Team Big Dog, my boys Cesar, Francisco, Nuco, Remigio, Guzman, Mueller, Guillermo. You guys are great. Shout outs to Alberto, shout outs to Murillos, and shout outs to anybody I'm forgetting. But yeah, thanks guys.